What's up, guys? Ricky here. So, today I wanted to talk about something that I found very fascinating and it's going to save me thousands of dollars. So, if any of you are like me and have stocks, individual stocks, whether that's an ETF, a bunch of stocks all in one bundle, or actual individual stocks, or just any sort of personal stocks in a brokerage of some kind, I've over the years invested quite a lot, and I have a lot in an account like that. But I've recently realized that I'd rather have my money in a Roth IRA, because you can take all your money out of a Roth IRA anytime you want. So in the event of an emergency or you need extra cash, whatever cash you put in a Roth IRA, you can actually take out without any kind of penalty, without any kind of taxes. It's only the gains that you would be penalized on, or potentially pay taxes on. So when I was looking into this, I found it very fascinating. One, how many financial products there are out there. And two, all the different ways you can transfer things and move things around. Like, for example, there's a 529 if you have children, which is like an education fund. That's not a very popular one. Not that many people know about it. Or you can actually set up, if you have a child and your child is working, you can set up an IRA for them. I didn't know that before. So when I was digging into all of this financial stuff, of trying to figure out what I could do with all these, with this personal portfolio that I had, I didn't want to have to pay taxes on it. I wanted to try and figure out a way where I could legally avoid taxes. So when I was looking into all this stuff, I found all these other financial products, essentially is what they are, that are available, which I found very fascinating. Did you guys know that there's a Roth IRA that you can open up in your kid's name? Like, it's your child's Roth IRA, but they have to work. From what I read, they have to work and contribute to it based on funds that they earn. So it's not something that you should necessarily just put your own money into. So anyway, this stock portfolio that I have, it's all in, the majority of it's in VU. And I wanted to keep that same investment. And so I was trying to figure out, hey, can I put this in my Roth IRA? The answer is no. I would have to cash it out in order to put it in the Roth IRA, and I'd be taxed on whatever gains I've made in that portfolio. And I'm trying to avoid that if I can. Try to avoid any sort of tax implications. By the way, obviously, I'm not a financial expert. I am not a financial guru. This is for entertainment purposes only. I'm really just sharing something that I found to be very fascinating. So, this money that I have in this portfolio, I've always intended on giving some of it to my kids once they're old enough, say 18 years old or something like that. And what I realized, this was a huge epiphany for me, guys, is that because that's what I wanted to do with the money in the first place, I realized I believe I can open up a custodial account for each of my 3 children. And in doing that, I'm pretty positive I can transfer over these funds into those 3 custodial accounts without incurring a taxable event. I believe as long as I keep the same positions, I can essentially transfer that over to their accounts and still have the same positions, and I don't believe it incurs a taxable event. So I avoid taxes in transferring them over to custodial accounts for my kids, because I will still be owner of them as well. So I'm owner of these stocks now, and when I transfer them over into these custodial accounts, until my kids are of age, I will be owner of those accounts. So because I'm owner of those accounts, and because it's going to be the same positions, I don't believe it's incurring any kind of a taxable event. So I think I can shift all these funds, move all these funds into each of these custodial accounts. And then this is the cool part that I realized. So I want to give this money to my children once they come of age, right? Well, long-term capital gains are pretty awesome. So for those of you that don't know, short-term capital gains is essentially taxed as ordinary income. So if I buy and sell a stock within a year, then I have to pay whatever my tax bracket is for my income. I would have to pay taxes on that amount of stocks that I sell. However, long-term capital gains is what the category of holding stocks for longer than a year would fall under, can actually be 0%. So if your income, I believe for a single person, it's less than somewhere around $47,000. If your income is less than $47,000 annually, then if you were to sell, say 40,000, say my child is 18 years old and has no income at all, right? They haven't even gotten a job yet necessarily, or they don't have a job that year. Well, for that year, say their income is 0. Well, if I could have up to, theoretically, up to $47,000 of a stock portfolio for them built up over the next 18 years, and they wouldn't have to pay any taxes on that when they sold it, because it would fall under the category, the tax bracket of long-term capital gains. And because of their income, they wouldn't have to pay any taxes on that amount. So that was the epiphany, is that I can get all of these funds, and my children are young now. There's quite a lot of time for compound interest to just continue to build and build exponentially. So I have these funds that I'm essentially going to switch over into these 3 custodial accounts for my kids. And in doing so, when my kids are of age, I believe they'll be able to sell all these stocks if they needed to and just cash out that entire portfolio for literally no taxes, 0% tax rate, because it would fall, again, under that category of long-term capital gains. And so I had that epiphany, and I think that's very fascinating. So not only do I get to avoid taxes by transferring my portfolio over into these custodial accounts, but when my kids come of age, they then become owners of those stock portfolios. And because they are now owners, it is under the taxes that they would have to pay fall under them. And if they have no income, then theoretically they should be able to cash out all those funds and use that cash for whatever they would need, whether it's going to college, whether it's starting to set aside money for buying a home, whatever it may be. I want my kids to be able to be set up for a financially successful future. And so I'd love to be able to give my kids some sort of funds, some sort of monetary benefit for when they're starting out in life. Because a lot of wealthy individuals have money to give to their kids as inheritance after they pass away. But typically, every person, once their parents pass away, they're typically close to retirement age. And so the children don't even benefit that much, because typically a person that's at retirement age already has a good retirement account themselves and typically are financially well off. Usually the hardest part in life is when you're starting out around the 18 years old and up to 25, 30. When you're trying to start a career, when you're trying to earn more money, those are the financially hardest years of someone's life. And so I think being able to have these custodial accounts that will have a good amount of stocks in them for when my kids are about 18 years old, I think it'll be really beneficial for them. And obviously I want to be able to teach them that they should probably keep those funds unless they need them for some legitimate or great purpose, like trying to buy a home, or maybe start a business, or potentially funding going to college as well. Depending on the degree, that could be really beneficial for them long term. And so for things like that, I would hope they would use those funds, but ultimately it's up to them on what they would want to use the funds for. But nonetheless, as a parent, I want to be able to give my kids a great financial future and a great financial start as they begin their adult lives. And so when I had the epiphany that I can transfer all these stocks that I have over into these custodial accounts, and then when my kids are 18 years old, it transfers into their name, and now if they have no income, they could quite literally cash that entire portfolio out and not have to pay any taxes on it. And that's really cool to me, because I was kind of worried, oh, I'm gonna have to pay taxes on the gains off my stock portfolio. I don't really want to do that, because especially in the future, as that grows and grows and grows, heck, that's going to be a lot of money that I'd have to pay taxes. And so this was a really cool epiphany, a really cool realization that I had, that I think I can do it this way. And in doing it this way, nobody has to pay taxes. And that's really cool. And I'm pretty, as far as I'm aware, that's a totally legal, legitimate way of doing it. And so anyway, this is a really cool idea that I wanted to share with everybody. To give a little bit of background on me, I'll probably share more of this in future videos. I'm an aerospace engineer, but I'm fascinated with finances in general, and I'm always trying to focus on how I can help my family be financially successful in life now and in the future. And so I love looking into all these different financial products, you know, a 529, a Roth IRA, looking into my 401k, making sure the matches are all right, looking into what savings rates are the best, what credit cards are the best, all those sorts of things. I'm always trying to figure out the best way to get the biggest bang for my buck, right? And so in general, I'm fascinated with finances as a person. And so I love to look at these financial things and try and better my situation and my family's situation. And so I think it's very worthwhile to share this information with others. Hopefully, those of you that have kids can think about this idea. If you have personal stocks as well, or ETFs, then you can potentially do something similar. And I think it's going to work out pretty well. I'm excited to transfer this money into these custodial accounts and start this process. Yeah, I think that's all I have for the video today, guys. But this YouTube channel is starting up, right? It's brand new. So feel free to drop any comments down below if you're curious about me or my interests or anything that way, or if you have any questions about what I've explained today in the video, feel free to drop a comment below. I'd be happy to do my best to answer them. I think in general, as human beings, as people, we need to try and help each other out more. Especially politically, it seems like the world gets very divided and very hateful towards one another often, especially on social media. And I think we need a world where everybody's much more collaborative, much more supportive of just trying to help everyone better themselves and better their situations. So yeah, that's all I've got for you today, guys. Please subscribe and have a great day. Let's crush life, guys.